I do want to spend just a few minutes talking about some of the advancement principles I work with in World Bible School that may be helpful to you in advancement as you consider those principles of your work with Southern Africa Bible College. One of those principles is something you're already working on to a real positive degree, and that is developing your percentage of national support. That was my task given to me as a missionary with Mutare School of Preaching. And I put together a brilliant plan to develop that percentage increase. And I got to work the last year of Boy Mitchell's life, as he was a long lifetime missionary in Zimbabwe, with him in that. And we had gotten to the point of 30% national support within Zimbabwe. Then they had the election, and President Mnangagwa took over, changed all the national policies back to the Mugabe era. The economy collapsed yet again, and then COVID hit. And now we're at 1% at Mutare School of Preaching. That sounds like a depressing story, and I know from your numbers last night it's hit Southern Africa Bible College hard as well. But it doesn't have to be depressing. Because if we teach the principles of sustainability, the principle of valuing your institution for your nation and being supportive of that, even though there may come times of economic hardship, even though there may occasionally crop up a pandemic that shuts the world down, hopefully that's not a regular occurrence, the principles you teach of having that percentage support of the school nationally can survive every economic turndown and every pandemic. When I showed up, we had not been able to visit Mutare School of Preaching for 2 years. And when I showed up, I was expecting to see things falling apart, things in shambles, things pretty rough. The school was in its best shape that it has ever been in my interaction with it since 2015 or since 2013. What was the difference? The difference is the principles of sustainability, where you take ownership of your school, where it is your school. It's not a foreign-owned school. It is our nation's school. It is something we love. Those principles will survive economic temporary turndowns. And I'm confident because of your work in that, Southern Africa Bible College will come through this, and you'll see that national support return with the Lord's blessing. Another area I think is vitally important. Even though we, in missions, want to plant churches indigenously that can have indigenous leadership and indigenous support and indigenous propagation where they are evangelistically minded themselves and even become self-actuated in their study of the Word. Those are kind of the hallmarks of indigenous theory. Institutions are a bit different. Institutions can be true cooperatives between foreign churches and local churches, and that often allows us to perform the excellence of an institution's mission, such as education. Within that, what has helped World Bible School develop in advancement to the degree it has over the last decade is that we recognized advancement needed teamwork. And so even though we were in a position 10 years ago to start developing an advancement team, John Reese just bit and took the step of faith and began developing a teamwork approach. And that has, in a 10-year period, made all the difference in our ability to grow and provide evangelistic tools around the world. We're now in a position where I was able to visit Zimbabwe, whose postal service has completely collapsed. You can no longer send mail back and forth to Zimbabwe with any sense of confidence. Well, in the past, we've had to just write off a country until their postal system came back. We had to do that in Nigeria. We had to do it in the Philippines. What a tragedy. But because of a team approach to advancement, we've been able to say, okay, let's print in Zimbabwe. Let's make sure the gospel literature is ready for gospel preachers to use, and we'll do whatever it takes to get there. Advancement through teamwork is critical to that level of growth. And so I would encourage this group. I know you've got a great fundraiser. I know he's been carrying the banner high and doing it. But a one-man advancement outfit it caps your growth by definition. And so I would encourage you to at least consider a growth of that capacity, a growth in teamwork, to see how that can bless work at Southern Africa Bible College. The last thing that I'll mention in this session is I know that as you produce preachers and as you try to get preachers engaged at the congregational level in productive ministry, how to work with them is a great challenge. And I would encourage Southern Africa Bible College and those who work with it to consider the great lessons of missions that people like Otis had to learn the hard way. People like Eldred and Al had to learn the hard way. Don't forget the great lessons and principles that matter. It's the easiest thing in the world to apply money to a problem. It's the hardest thing in the world to apply money in such a way that you get the result you're hoping and praying for. Missions is very complex that way. In Zimbabwe, Loy Mitchell developed a way for a graduate from the school to immediately be supported by churches in America. At the time, it looked like the most efficient way possible. What resulted was a very efficient evangelism growth, but no elderships in the country. We were very efficient, but because funding came from abroad and because local accountability systems were never created, the local individuals receiving foreign support did not want to teach congregations to have elderships. They didn't want to answer to them. And so it was a backfire. Now, Loy himself worked with me long and hard to come up with creative ways to still provide a way to engage students directly into ministry while avoiding those kinds of potholes. I believe those solutions and answers are out there. But unless we take the lessons we've learned the hard way over the last 100 years in missions and tackle the difficult questions, we'll never discover those solutions. I was thrilled to hear last night how you're exploring the idea of internships and apprenticeships. I applaud that. I'm the product of a missionary apprenticeship program. I think that's the kind of created application of funds that still can respect how elderships emerge and how congregations take on their responsibilities of giving and their oversight in accountability so that New Testament Christianity can grow indigenously and healthy for the long term. And I'm excited about your efforts. I'm excited about your efforts in that, and we certainly look forward to participating. All right, that's our session.